At number 6, a guy that had we done this ranking a year ago, he probably would have been number 1 and been number 1 by a decent sized margin. That's Carson Beck of the Miami Hurricanes. And you're going to look at his 2024 campaign, and the numbers aren't going to necessarily wow you in a positive or a negative way. He threw for nearly 3,500, 28-12 touchdown interception ratio, and nearly 65% completion. So pretty solid. But if you look at where he was going into last year, he was the de facto number 1 overall pick and the front runner to become the Heisman Trophy winner. That's where he was last offseason. And if you look at where he is today versus where he was last year, it's a pretty big difference in perception. What's amazing to me, though, is that there are so many people that have pointed all of Carson Beck's flaws out without acknowledging the inconsistencies of not just his wide receiver core, which led the country in drops, but also his offensive line. I thought his offensive line was so leaky at times last year that it was almost hard for Carson Beck to be comfortable at all. You look at how many times he got hit in the Kentucky game. That was week 2 or week 3. He got hit time and time again. And I think at that point he got a little bit rattled because the offensive line was really struggling. That carried over at times and kind of peaked against an Ole Miss team that teed off. He had to throw it and take chances on several occasions. Balls were tipped, balls were picked. But if you look at how he kind of hung in there, I thought Carson Beck battled last year, man. And while there was a bit of a rough midseason stretch where there were a lot of interceptions, everyone wants to remember the Texas game. People want to remember other performances as well. He did have some moments where he was forcing the football. I think there were moments where he's maybe hearing the outside noise and pressing. As a result, he still had 5 games with 3+ touchdown passes. He also had the 2 final regular season games where he led a pretty remarkable comeback against Georgia Tech. And he also still carries a career record of 24-3 with nearly 7,500 passing yards. So I understand he's coming off elbow surgery, and there are questions surrounding that. But I still believe that him now with Shannon Dawson and the young weapons that Miami has that are likely to break out this season, you could find him back very much in the mix as one of the top quarterbacks in the country. Shannon Dawson just helped cultivate a run with Cam Ward that resulted in the number 1 overall pick. Carson Beck has that type of potential as well. Now, he doesn't have the mobility, doesn't have the playmaking ability and trying to create and playing off schedule. But if you need a guy that can just sit back there in the pocket and pick you apart, Carson Beck's that guy. And this is an offense that led the FBS in yards and ranked 3rd in passing with Cam Ward at the helm last year. So I think when you look at where Carson Beck's going to be at season's end, I would be surprised if he's not back in the good graces of many from a talent evaluation standpoint and from recognizing that, man, he was one heck of a college quarterback in his time at both Georgia and his time at Miami. I really believe that's going to happen this year.